Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Today we want to talk about organ donation. A lot of people ask this question, so it's important for us to really understand what position Islam holds with respect to organ donation. Now, there's a couple of things I want to read to you that I've done some research on this particular issue. So organ donation falls under two categories: the living who wishes to donate an organ to someone else, and the deceased who either makes an agreement or writes in his or her will that certain organs should be donated once they die. So as far as the living is concerned, there's a couple of things that are really important. Number one is that individual who donates that organ should be somebody of sane mind. In other words, they should really know the responsibility that they're going to take or put forward. I mean, removing an organ is not something easy. It's not something simple. It will have its ramifications later on or its complications later on. So they have to know exactly what kind of responsibility that they're going to take upon their shoulder. That's the first thing. Secondly is that scholars also advise that that individual should be an adult. So for a young child or a person who may not have that level of maturity shouldn't do organ donations at that time. Wait until they are a mature adult. And this, of course, is going back to the first point so that they understand the maturity and the responsibility behind that. The third point to consider is that this should be done out of his or her own free will. Nobody should feel compelled to do this. So really and truly, if this person that you wish to donate to is somebody like a close relative or a child, you shouldn't feel compelled just because they are a close relative or child that you need to donate to them. It should be something that you do completely and solely out of your own free will for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's really important, because what that's going to do is that's going to continue to fuel that spiritual engine inside of your heart, that whatever complications you suffer as a result of your donation, you're always going to find relief in Allah Azza wa Jal, that you've done it for Him and you've brought relief to somebody else. So it's more of a psychological benefit than anything else. The fourth condition that the living should consider is that the organ that they donate shouldn't be a vital organ that they themselves depend on for survival. So you don't want to just give away, I don't know, maybe a lung or a kidney just off the bat, because you yourself depend on living with that particular organ. And the last and final condition that scholars put is that the organs should not be any sexual organs as well that are donated. So this, of course, is a very strict condition that scholars put. So this is with respect to the living donor. As far as the deceased is concerned, there's also a couple of things that should be considered. Number one is that you should have the consent of the deceased. Of course, this is if him or her filled out one of those donation cards and it's there, or they put it in their will, so you've received their consent. This now makes it permissible. If that isn't found, then if the deceased put in his or her will that they permit so and so individual to donate these organs on their behalf, or this responsibility is left with a wakil or somebody else, then that is also permissible. You can consult those close relatives. The second condition is that the organ that's being donated must be an actual working organ. So if the deceased was in a car accident or something, and the body is retrieved and it's beyond recognition, and you see the organs are sitting right there, they have to be organs that are functionable and are still working. The third condition is that, of course, a death has to be confirmed. So if the doctor says to you, look, you're gonna die, you have cancer in about 3 weeks, you can't start planning who you're going to donate your organs to until death is actually confirmed by a professional. And the last and final condition to consider is, let's say if you happen to retrieve a body and the identity of that body is unknown. So in this case here, you can't make the decision and say, well, look, this body is not even known, we need an organ from this individual, let's just do that. No, it has to go through a process. Here is where I advise to follow the process of your locality or your country. So you need a judge, and you might need authorities and professionals involved to make these kind of decisions. This is not a decision that our religion or you and I as an individual can make. So having said that, I hope this helps, guys, and I hope you understand the mas'ala well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.